Hello friends, welcome back. Video we will discuss one more critical listening exercise containing questions that are generally helpful for you in cracking the VRC section in CAT and other management entrance examinations. The critical reasoning is an integral part of the logical skill that you need to develop for cracking the VRC section or for the verbal ability section in all management exams. We'll straight away dive into the questions. First question is a sentence completion question. Sentence completion question will also be part of the verbal ability questions. So here, what you have to see is the flow of the logic that is getting transferred from one sentence to the other. Then you have to decide which sentence from among the options will be most logical in completing the sequence in a very clear and rational manner. That is the skill you have to develop and the technique you need to use in completing sentences. The question is, as long as savings deposits are insured by the government, depositors will have no incentive to evaluate the financial strength of a savings bank. What is the meaning? As long as the deposits are insured by the government, so irrespective of the strength of a bank, if the deposits are insured by the government, the depositors will not be bothered about doing some analysis regarding the strength of the bank in which they are depositing. Why? Because the deposits are anyway insured by the government. If at all the bank fails, or if at all the bank is facing problems, or the bank collapses, the depositors will get that back the money because the government has insured the deposit. So the depositors have no incentive to evaluate. What is the meaning of this expression? Incentive to evaluate means they don't have any advantage in evaluating the financial strength of a bank, or they will not be bothered about doing some analysis regarding the strength of the bank in which they are giving their deposits, because the deposits are insured by the government anyway. So they will only be looking at the yield, or they will only be interested in how much interest they'll be getting. So their choice of the bank to deposit the money will only be dictated by the yield provided by the bank. Means they will only look at the interest rate provided by the bank. They will not be bothered about the strength of the bank, because the deposits are insured by the government in any government anyway. So to attract deposits, banks will be forced to offer the highest possible interest rate. Because of this, what banks will have to do? Banks will have to offer high rates of interest, because the depositors are only interested in the how much interest is given by the bank. The bank which provides the highest interest, depositors will be opting for such a bank, because they will not be bothered about the financial strength of the bank, because the deposits are anyway wherever they deposit, the deposits are insured by the government. So the banks will have to offer higher rates of interest. And when that happens, what is the last sentence? And since paying higher rates of interest inevitably strains the financial strength of the bank. So because banks have to pay such high rates of interest, what would happen? What would be happening because banks have to pay higher rates of interest? Once you understand the logic, the answer is very clear. Option A, the government will be forced to impose limitations on interest rates. Since paying higher rates of interest will affect the financial strength of the government will be forced to impose limitations on interest rate. Is this a logical thing? See, it is the because of an action by the government in insuring the deposits, this is happening. So government will first insure the deposits. The government will also be forced to impose limitations. So this will not be properly logical, even though it is not illogical. What you can say is that because government is insuring deposits, the banks will be forced to offer high rates of interest to attract depositors, because when banks are offering such high rates of interest, it will affect the financial strength of the bank. So the government has to impose restrictions. So government is doing something, as a result of which government has to impose restrictions. So not really logical, but still not illogical also. So probable answer, keep it in your mind. Option B, deposit insurance will ultimately lead to the financial weakening of many banks. This is a good answer, because it says that since banks are all going to offer higher rates of interest, and since paying higher rates of interest inevitably strains the financial strength of the bank, what will happen? Deposit insurance means the process that we talked about in the first sentence. So inevitably, ensuring deposits by the government will ultimately lead to the financial weakening of many banks. So this is more logical. It starts with a particular scenario and it talks about the consequences of that scenario. It says that when government is insuring deposits, the people will not be bothered by the strength of the bank. They will only be looking at the interest rate offered by the bank to give deposits or to deposit their money. And so banks will have to offer higher and higher rates of interest to attract depositors. When such things happen, it will affect the financial strength, and ultimately deposit insurance will lead to the financial weakening of many banks. So this is a better answer. Option A is also a good answer, even though it is talking about the consequence of one action by the government leading to another action by the government. Option B is a better answer because it says of what will happen if this because of this issue of ensuring the deposits by the bank, what is ultimately going to happen. So B will be the better answer. We can say that option A will be a statement that will come after B. Maybe after talking about this, we can say that because of this financial weakening, government will ultimately be forced to impose limitations. So ultimately, government doing one thing will lead to government resorting to do another thing. So out of A and B, B is a better answer. So we will stick with the B for the time being. Then see other options as well. Option C, savers will be forced to choose between deposit insurance and higher interest rate. What is saver? A person who is putting money in a savings bank account is called a saver. So he will be forced to choose between deposit insurance and higher interest rate. Is it correct? No. All the depositors will anyway be getting deposit insurance. So there is no question of choosing between deposit insurance and higher rates of interest. All depositors at the present scenario will definitely be getting deposit insurance because they are insured by the government. So there is no question of choosing between deposit insurance and higher rates of interest. Wrong. Option D, deposits will tend to the GOMS banks with the banks with the greatest financial strength. It says that because of this, depositors will be opting for banks with the greatest financial strength. Is it true? No. The passage itself says that depositors are not bothered by the financial strength of the bank because their deposits are already insured by the government. They will only be looking at the interest rate. So whether the deposits will go to the banks with the greatest financial strength, we don't know because the rates are the higher rates can be offered by banks with the greatest financial strength. The deposits may go to the banks with the greatest financial strength, but this is not a proper sentence to be used here because the sentence starts by saying that since paying higher rates of interest inevitably strains the financial strength of a bank, what will happen? This will definitely lead to the financial weakening. Deposits may be going to the banks with the greatest financial strength as a later on consequence. So this is not going to be the immediate statement or the immediate sentence that you are going to use here. The immediate sentence will definitely be option B. So B is again not a better answer than option B. Option E, bank profits will tend to rise to higher levels. Completely wrong. When the banks are forced to offer higher rates of interest, their profits will go down. They will not be increasing. So A is also not a good answer. So out of options A, B, and D, B is the best answer. You can very clearly say that B is the logical thing that should complete the sentence at the present scenario. A and D are talking about later on scenarios or something that will happen afterwards. But since paying higher rates of interest inevitably strains means weakens the financial strength, what will happen? Deposit insurance will ultimately lead to the financial weakening of many banks. This is the most logical sentence to complete the passage at this point. That is why B will be the answer. Don't be confused by options A and D. They are also logical options, but not logical enough to be fit into this particular part of the sentence. That is what you have to think about. You don't think about the complete overall logic of the options. You have to think about which option logically fits in the place that is mentioned in the passage. That is why we have to choose B over A or D. I hope this is clear. Now go to the next question. This question is Again, a critical reasoning question. The city council will certainly vote to approve the new downtown redevelopment plan. What is a downtown redevelopment plan? Downtown means a central business area of any city is called a downtown. So there is a plan to redevelop, means demolish everything and reconstruct everything again. That is a downtown redevelopment plan. So the city council is going to vote to approve the plan despite the objection of environmentalists. So environmental activists are objecting to this kind of redevelopment because it is causing some harm to the environment. So they are objecting, but still the city council will definitely approve the plan. Why? After all, most of the campaign contributions received by members of city council came from real estate development firms. Because why the city council is going to approve the plan? Because the campaign, because city council will consist of elected members. So during their election campaigns, the funding or the most of the campaign donations came from the companies which are in the real estate development sector. So they have given the money. So they will be definitely asking for some favors in return for the campaign contributions. So as a result of which, the members will definitely approve the plan. And why these real estate development firms are going to benefit from the plan. So they will be definitely asking for a favorable vote which the city council will provide because most of the contributions have been received from these papers. Is the meaning. So the city council members are definitely going to approve the plan in spite of the objections by the environmentalists because the funding for their election campaign has come from the real estate firms who are going to benefit from the redevelopment plan. This is the passage. Now, which statement will weaken the argument the most, or the statement that is going to weaken this particular argument? You have to find out. Option A, several members of the city council receive sizable donation or campaign contributions from environmental groups. So that says that several members have received sizable campaign contributions from environmental groups also. It's not just the real estate firms, but environmental firms also have given the some sizable donations. So here the key is sizable versus most of the campaign. What is the difference here? Sizable means a significant portion of the campaign contributions. Most of the campaign means majority of the campaign contributions. So even though the environmental groups have made significant contributions, majority of the campaign contributions have been done by the real estate development firms. So will the city council members support? Definitely the real estate firms. Will this option weaken the argument? No, because the campaign contributions from environmental groups were sizable, but not majority. Majority, most of the contributions are done by the environmental, not by the environmental firms, the real estate firms. So this is why this is not going to weaken the argument. Option B, members of the city council are required to the size and source of each campaign contribution they receive. Irrelevant argument. We are not discussing what the members are supposed to do, whether they have to report or not report. That is not going to affect the decision by the members in any way because the passage does not say that the members should not be voting when they have received contributions from such and such people. That is not stated in the passage. So whether the members will report the contributions or not, that is not going to affect their decisions in any way. Option C, not every real estate development firm in the city will be able to participate in and profit from the new development plan. Means not all the real estate firms will be profiting from the redevelopment plan. True. But the passage is not concerned with all the real estate firms. It says that the members will definitely approve the plan because most of the campaign contributions are from real estate firms and they are going to benefit from the plan. So anyway, some of the real estate firms will be definitely benefiting. That is the motive behind city council approving the plan. City council's objective or aim is not to benefit all the real estate development firms. It is to benefit some of the real estate development firms. So even though all the real estate firms are not going to benefit, the city council definitely approve the plan. That is why this again is not a argument that will weaken the conclusion in the passage. So not your answer. Option D, the members of the city council have often voted in ways that are opposed to the interests of their campaign contributors. So says that members, you do not assume that the members will always vote in favor of the campaign contributors. This is the assumption made in the argument. So in every argument, there is an assumption. What is an assumption? Assumption is an unstated fact, which is supported by the facts. So what is the unstated fact here? The unstated fact is that the city council members will definitely support their campaign contributors. So here, that assumption is negated by this argument, saying that the members need not necessarily support the campaign contributors all the time, and there is historical evidence to prove that they have often voted in ways that are opposed to the interests of the campaign contributors. So this option is clearly negating the assumption, or clearly weakening the assumption. So any argument that weakens the assumption will definitely weaken the argument, or any statement that weakens the assumption will definitely weaken the argument. This we have already seen in the previous exercises. So whenever you discuss about an argument, you have to think about the assumptions inherent in the argument, and any statement that weakens that assumption will be weakening the argument. So here option D clearly weakens the assumption. So this has a very high chance of becoming your correct answer. Keep it in your mind. Option E, some environmentalists have stated that the new downtown redevelopment plan might be environmentally sound if certain minor modifications are made. So here even the environmentalists, or at least some of them, are not objecting to the plan. So what this statement essentially means they are in favor of the plan. So this statement is basically supporting the argument, not weakening it. We need a statement that weakens the argument, not supporting it. So very clearly, option E is the statement that weakens the argument by weakening the assumption behind the argument. So option D will be your correct answer. All right, now go to the next question. A mail order company recently had a big jump in clothing sales after hiring a copywriter and a graphic artist to give its clothing catalog a magazine-like format designed to appeal to a more upscale clientele. What is this mail order company? This these companies were in existence before the arrival of the digital online shopping companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, etc. So mail order companies, one where they will circulate their catalogs or whatever things they have on sale, they will circulate it to people in the form of paper pamphlets, booklets, catalogs, etc. And you see the catalog, then make an order through mail, and the goods will be shipped to your address, and you will have to pay it. So that is a mail order company. So such a mail order company had a big jump in clothing sales when they did a redesigning of their catalog by making it look like a magazine. Why? What was the rationale? Because it was found that it appealed to a more upscale clientele. Upscale clientele means a rich clientele or rich customers. So the rich customers were more interested in a catalog which is designed like a magazine. So when they redesigned their catalog like a magazine, their sales improved. So that is what happened. Clothing scales. Now the company is now planning to launch a housewares catalog using the same concept. So now the company is doing a housewares catalog. It means from clothing, they are now going to household appliances, kitchen appliances, and all kinds of household appliances. Now they are going to redesign the catalog in the same way they have redesigned the clothing catalog. So this is the what is the assumption behind the decision by the company? So what is the assumption? Very clearly, assumptions are unstated facts that are supported by the stated facts, and it which contribute to the conclusion. So here the conclusion is company is concluding that when they redesign their house appliances catalog like a magazine catalog in the form of a magazine format, like they did for the clothing catalog, their sales in the houseware also will improve because it appeals to the upscale clientele. So what is the assumption? Whenever a housewares catalog is designed in a magazine-like format, it will also appeal to a upscale clientele. That is the assumption. So very clearly, what is the answer? Option B, an upscale clientele would be interested in a housewares catalog. So this is very clearly the answer, but for the sake of argument, we will discuss the other options also. Option A, other housewares catalog with magazine-like formats do not already exist. This is not at all assumed here. It means that other competitors or some other mail order companies. No other mail order company has a magazine like format. Can we have this assumption? An assumption has to be supported by the facts given in the passage. So the passage does not make any such inferences or any such statements that other mail order companies do not have a magazine like format. So this is why this is not going to be a good assumption. Option B, an upscale clientele would be interested in a housewares catalog. Yes, because why the company is designing a housewares catalog in a magazine like format? Because they want to appeal to an upscale clientele like they did with the clothing catalog. So they are assuming that the upscale clientele would be interested in a housewares catalog. So good answer, keep it in your mind. Option C, the same copywriter and graphic artist could be employed for both the clothing and housewares catalog. No need to have the same copywriter. They could have different copywriters also, though the company is having no such assumptions that the same copywriter and graphic artist could be employed. That is not at all implied in the passage. They can have any, and what is the point in having the same copywriter and graphic artist? They could have different copywriters. So there is no fact in the passage which supports this assumption. So wrong answer. Option D, a magazine like format requires a copywriter and a graphic artist. True, this is a good assumption, but whether this assumption is leading to our conclusion, because why it is a good assumption? Because after hiring a copywriter and a magazine, they redid the clothing catalog in a magazine-like format. So the assumption here is that magazine-like format requires a copywriter and a graphic artist. This is a good assumption, but this is not the assumption that supports the decision by the company. The company's plan assumes that. So our task is to find out an assumption that supports the plan designed by the company. This is not that assumption. Option E, customers to whom the old clothing catalog appealed would continue to make purchases from the catalogs the new format. It's talking about the clothing catalog. Company's plan is not about the clothing catalog. It is already over. We are talking about the household appliances catalog or housewares catalog. So any option that talks about the clothing catalog is not relevant to our discussion. The question is, what is the company's uh, uh, plan assuming or plan regarding the housewares catalog assuming? So option E is only talking about the clothing catalog. So no need to do that. So the only answer and the clear answer is option B. An upscale clientele would be interested in a housing catalog, just like they were interested in a magazine-like format clothing catalog. So B is the clear answer. So the first question was about the application of logic for completion of sentence. Second and third questions were about how to understand assumptions behind an argument and how to make use of those assumptions in finding out the answers to the questions given. So these are all applications of the concept or the theory behind critical reasoning, which we have already seen in the first video on critical reasoning. So we have been continuously uh, practicing those theories in all the videos, and we'll continue to do so in the future videos as well. So if you have found the video and the contents mentioned in the video to be useful, please like, share, and subscribe, and also try to spread word about the channel so that I get more reach. That will motivate me to come out with further such videos. Thank you. Bye bye.